Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. For the first time in PGurus channel, we are joined by Sri IYRK Rao, also known as IYRK Rao. Rao Garu, welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you very much. First, let me thank you for getting my name right. A lot of people keep on saying it as IVR, which I don't like, because my name is IYR and Y and V, there's a lot of difference.
Yes, yes.
Whereas
yes.
normally in Andhra, V stands for Venkat.
Yes. Sir, if you could just, I'm curious, could you expand your full name? Because I know Vangapurappu Venkatasai Lakshman.
No, actually, Ippagunta Yashodhar Ramakrishna Rao. That's my name.
Okay.
Ippagunta is my village. Like most of our South Indians, the village has an importance.
Yes.
The real name given my father is Yashodhar. That's my name actually. Ramakrishna is a subsequent addition. That's how it became a long name of Ippagunta Yashodhar Ramakrishna Rao.
So, viewers, a little bit of background about Sri Rao. Now, he was the Chief Executive Officer of Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam during the period 2009 to 2011. And then he was the Chief Secretary of the Andhra Pradesh. This is the first bifurcated Andhra Pradesh state under Chandrababu Naidu. So he has seen both sides of this issue that we are going to talk about, which is what is happening in Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, how it has been infiltrated by people who are non-Hindus, where the charter clearly states that only Hindus are supposed to be employed. And we get a complete 360-degree view by talking to Sri Rao. So Rao Garu, please enlighten us about what your thoughts are, because you started out you're a 1979 batch IAS officer. You were a district collector in several districts, and then maybe you can just expand a little bit on your experience. What are all the things that you were involved in?
I think we'll make it into a much broader issue of management of temples in Andhra Pradesh.
Yes.
Endowments Department, including TTD. I think that should be
sure.
broader aspects, because you can't just in isolation talk about TTD, because the issue is equally relevant to other temples as well as, and overall, how do we protect and take care of the Hindu Dharma? That's what I am also very much interested in. So let me put it in that broader context and talk.
Yes.
First of all, let's look at it in a much broader context. With reference to different religions, the one religion with reference to which government has a control, unfortunately, is Hindu religion. Whereas the other religions have the freedom to propagate their religion the way they want, here, since the temple establishment is under the control of the government, since they have taken over that power, the responsibility of propagating Hindu Dharma also lies with the government of whichever is the state government, as long as the temples are under their control. Unfortunately, there is neither a realization nor an action plan towards that end. In the process, Hindu religion is suffering compared to other religions because it's controlled by the government, and a government which does not think protection and propagation of Hindu Dharma is a responsibility cast on it, because it has taken the power of controlling the temples. This is the broader context in which we have to see the whole issue. Having said that, both the temples as well as the TTD are controlled by the government, and no government for that matter. I mean, I won't singularly select or point out this or that. Never had an agenda of appointing the trust boards where the people qualify to discharge the functions which are cast on them. So that's a very, very big problem. It's a political asylum. I mean, for all those chaps who are hanging around to be put on those boards with no idea of the religion, no idea of the culture, no idea of the tradition, but still performing both the secular as well as the religious functions, because they think they are the be all and end all of that. That's a bigger problem, which is really is an issue of concern for Hindus in all states, equally particularly in Andhra Pradesh. There's the broader thing in which I would present the issue. Then coming more specifically to the TTD, there are 2-3 things there. First, it's reasonably well managed. There's no doubt about that. I mean, in spite of the fact that the boards are politically appointed and a lot of people with a lot of interest come there and do their work, but still, overall, the management is in good hands. And it goes to the credit of the staff there, the institutions, and also the public glare. I mean, because it's such an important institution, there's a lot of public glare and this thing. One thing that has happened in TTD, which is equally relevant for other temples in Andhra Pradesh, is over a period of time, people who have no faith in the religion have come into the system. This is because of various reasons.
Money being the primary one, I think.
Nah?
Money being the primary one, I think.
Not exactly the system of recruitment. I mean, I'm talking of the employees.
Okay.
Not about the managing committees.
Right.
We come to managing committees later, sir.
Sure.
I'm talking of the employees because there's no verification of the faith of the person before getting him into the system. So you have people who just have no faith in the religion, being there and doing things which hurt the sentiments of others. So how do you handle this? When as the EO, one, how do you send the people who are already there in, out? And what do you do to recruit the new people? So these are the 2 issues. The recruitment portion, I think if the government and the TTD establishment is serious, they can take care of it. Just by having a rigorous test of looking into the credentials to a series of measures, it can be taken. But those who are already there, how do you handle it? It's also a livelihood problem. So that's what makes it complicated. My suggestion at that time and even now is, this is something that should be tackled at the highest level in the government. You create supernumerary posts in other departments, take them out and put them in those posts and give them the same promotions what they would get in. Even the cost can be borne by the TTD because that's a historical legacy of the institution. But in future, take care that the right people are recruited. So this is something, unless at CM's level, somebody is willing to handle the issue, it will not get a solution. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Sure.
So if the non-Hindus are assured that they're not going to get fired for lying in their application, but they're just going to have a lateral transfer, then why did they take the trouble of going to the High Court and getting a stay order? What are your thoughts on that?
No, nobody has promised them that. The point is, I mean, somebody at some stage should promise that your livelihood will not be affected. You will be transferred out and put somewhere else. They would have gladly gone. But the way the notices went were for termination, not for lateral.
I see.
So that's why they went to go.
Thanks for clarifying that. Please continue.
That's the most important. So that's one aspect about it, and equally relevant for other temples as well. It's not something unique to TTD, but also other places. So this is one aspect. This is very, I would say, a segmental issue of the endowment departments and the TTD in terms of management of the institutions, as well as how do you take the main objective of these institutions of spreading, defending, propagating Hindu Dharma. That's one aspect. The second most important point is, without any support from the government, and it should not come either to Hindu religion or for other religions as well. This is my point because in a secular country, a propagation of a religion cannot be funded by government funds. Unfortunately, that's happening. I'll come to it later. You have enough of a funds in most of the big temples which can be pooled and used for this purpose. But for that, you need a system where people with that type of a devotion come into the place and take up the issue. In fact, when BJP was an important partner in Andhra Pradesh government as part of the coalition with Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, there was a very, very good initiative that was taken up in Andhra Pradesh. That was a Samarasata Foundation was constituted, which will get its funds from the temples through a Hindu Prachara Trust, HPDT. And with that, they take up the propagation and defending of the Hindu Dharma, which is a very, very innovative and desirable initiative. But unfortunately, when BJP, when Chandrababu Naidu cut his links with the BJP, unfortunately, that was not a priority to him. And somebody went to a court and got a stay, which could have been got over, but he didn't. And all those funding was stopped. So even today, when you say the dharma should be spread, it can never be spread by these employees or by these boards which are politically nominated. They will only swindle away the money. You definitely need a voluntary, dedicated band of workers and an organization which can take this up, funded by the temples. Thus, arrangement can be worked out. I think the present system that's again being revived and is under consideration, some statutory amendment so that the Hindu Dharma Prachara Trust will become a statutory body, and then link it up with the Samarasa Foundation and go about it. In fact, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, if it doesn't really happen the way it's supposed to be, then the credentials of this government also need to be questioned. I'm just waiting for this government's response, because I do know that that's an active consideration. If it goes through, well, I mean, we should say good initiative from this government. If it doesn't, there's some other agenda which is driving this government.
Sir, walk us through the funds that are put in that, that hundi. When you go to the temple, there's a 10, 12 feet high hundi. And as a small boy, I used to jump and put it in there. It used to be a thrill doing this thing. Now, there have been allegations that money has been pilfered by various governments of what is collection and hundi. And as a young boy, I used to see, there'll be like 5 or 6 people sitting in one corner. They'll be counting all the cash. And I'm talking about 60s maybe. I remember that. Now, how does the money flow happen when the temple receives money from pujas, probably, darshans, and perhaps there are other donations also. I mean, somebody could be just donated to their website. Can you just kind of explain to us, to our viewers, how the process of how the money gets put in, say, a bank or something like that?
Right. I think overall the systems are good in the TTD, so that one need not have any doubts about that. Whatever is put in the hundi, that's what you told, which is being segregated at a place that's known as Parka money.
Right.
And then whatever it's getting to the bank in terms of the deposits. And there are trusts specifically floated by the TTD for different purposes, like the Annadanam Trust, a trust for taking up temples in the remote areas, and a medical trust, and a whole lot of those trusts are there, for which people do give donations. They are used for that purpose. But essentially, I think that's a problem, not just of TTD, but most of the temples. Point is, you are putting all this in the hands of a board whose very appointment does not go through a proper selection process.
Right.
So board's whims and fancies do play an important role, as well as that of the chairperson. and how, I mean, overall the objectives are there, but how much of it is pilfered, misused in terms of the different things that are taken up is definitely there. It's a matter of concern, but not alarming. I would say it's not alarming.
No, see,
broadly, I would say these are some of the things on which the money is spent. Most of it goes to the salaries of the establishment, which is a very, very big establishment. There is a SWIMS medical hospital, which is run by the TTD at Tirupati, a whole lot of educational institutions which are run by them. And then some of the ostensibly dharmic activities taken up by TTD. I'm putting it in a question mark because sometimes that's where the discretion of the chairman and the board broadly decides what is dharmic.
So then rid me this doubt. I've heard various amounts being mentioned to get on the board, like 10, 20 crores and so on and so forth. Why would somebody want to pay money to get onto the TTD board?
Okay. I mean, I'll answer you in a different manner. A very devout secretary in government of India who may not clear a file for about 5 crores, 10 crores, may do it for an excellent darshan at Tirumala. I hope you got what I mean.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I do. But you see,
that's why the chairman post in TTD is so precious. There are any number of chairpersons who did business by being there, by giving good darshans to a number of bureaucrats and politicians. As simple as that. That's why there's that much of a premium to get into the TTD.
Interesting. Interesting. So kindly share with us your experiences as the executive officer of TTD 2009 to 2011.
No, there are 2-3 initiatives which I carry with me all through my life. One was I opposed and was successful in ensuring the then chairman's proposal of doing gold plating for the walls, which is known as
Adikesavalu. Yeah, Adikesavalu stuff, right.
Right. Ananda Nilayam, Ananta Swarnamayam. That was his pet project. By the time I joined, he already collected a lot of gold for that. It was in a very advanced stage, board resolution, everything was done. So it was a big decision for me whether I go with it or oppose it. So after a little bit of a thought, I thought, come what may, this is something that I have to oppose because I mean, I'm not comfortable with the very thought of somebody feeling that by gold plating, the temple would look better, or it's worth it to conceal all those beautiful inscriptions on the walls by gold plating. So I really took it on, and fortunately I had a good assistance from Dr. Swami.
Yes.
Subrahmanyam Swami, because I mean, a good friend of me put me on to him. So that's how the public interest litigation came on to the face. And then that finally, I mean, Adikesavalu is a very strong person. So once it went out in High Court, he went to the Supreme Court. I mean, it was so nice of Mr. Subrahmanyam Swami. What happened is Supreme Court ex parte passed an order in favor of the Anandalayam Ananta Swarnamayam. He went back, fought with them, and got it stayed.
Wow! Wow!
So that's how it got stalled. And now I don't think nobody is thinking of that. That's one major area where I think I could contribute something, because I sincerely felt what was going on was not the right thing to do. Then, of course, that which is still going on. Of course, some elements in between during Chandrababu Naidu time try to dilute it as much as they can, but fortunately, it still goes on. That Nada Nirajanam was a idea which I had and operationalized it. The idea was, I mean, there was this SVBC, that is Sri Venkateswara Patti channel. There was a prime time slot which was getting vacant because the earlier episodes and others which were given on some Puranas and everything was very, very badly done in an unpuranic way with all commercial spicy things. And all those have gone, and that slot was available. So how do we fill it? I thought a good dance, classical music program right in front of the lot, evening prime time, telecast across the world on this SVBC would be a good idea. So started it off on a very small scale on August 15th. That was the day, Independence Day, without even a shelter, because that was a rainy time. We were wondering what will happen. We didn't train, and Kanyakumari and our whole team came. That was how it started. In fact, we wanted it to start with Mangalampalli. Why we put, that's a different story altogether. I'll tell you at a different time. So there's some ego issues which got into this. So Kanyakumari came and came.
Sir, she's a very accomplished violinist, very beautiful, mellifluous.
I mean, and then it's going on at that A grade. I mean, what a point was, it should be A grade artist. That's what I had in mind. So it got into some problems here and there. But when we had the first year anniversary, I was very particular. I should get a good team from Bali and have a Ramayana, Bali Ramayana enacted there.
Yes.
And I was successful in that.
That was
First
awesome.
year, yeah, the first year anniversary, we got a team from Bali and got a Ramayana performance there. So I think it's going on. It's going on the way I want. That's another major issue which I think where I could do something which is to my satisfaction. Then of course that Sigra Darshanam, which also became a very important hit. And Hindu Dharma Pracharam, in fact, was an important aspect of mine. Unfortunately, my predecessor, my successors didn't follow it up the way I wanted it. What I did is, the most important thing is not this Srivari Kalyanams which people are doing in urban areas. What was most important is take it to the remote areas. So we had a mobile Kalyanam team with Purohit, everything, which kept on moving into the most interior areas, tribal areas. We went to Kumalakshmipuram, we went to Paderu, we went to Araku. You have with the idols, a full-fledged Kalyanam perform, give prasadam to the people. And people came in huge numbers. I mean, that's the way you have to take the religion into the areas where you say the conversions are more or other religions are taking over. I mean, that focus should be there. And if you have the focus, TTD has the funds and you can really achieve it. Only thing is the management. That's the most important.
Wonderful, sir. Now, from there, you rose through the ranks of the bureaucracy and you became the Chief Secretary. I assume the divided Andhra Pradesh, you were the first Chief Secretary?
That's right. Yeah, I took over on the day it was divided. Just a day before it was divided.
So those are all tough times because there's always this, my desk, my pencil, my rubber, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. The first 6 months was on the division issues itself. I mean, the division issues and you handle division issues in a place which is not under your control.
Yes,
that's the problem. I mean,
right.
till the last day, Hyderabad was the United Andhra capital. Right. So the day division was done, Hyderabad technically is a capital for both the states, but was under the control of Telangana government.
Correct.
So that really led to a lot of problems. I mean, in the sense the local government was not helpful, not just helpful. It was in a way anti. So there were issues, there were fights, and fights still going on. I mean, it's not that the issues have been sorted out still, but in any case, I think fairly a lot of things got sorted out, and I think it's time to put it behind and go on as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned.
So, as Chief Secretary, you were on the other side of the fence, so to say. Now, were you there when kitchen was closed down for a few days?
No, I was not there.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can fill us a little bit about the background. You probably know a little bit more than what the arm viewer knows. Perhaps you can share with our viewers what was happening, what was the reason for doing that, or should there be more than what is meeting the eye?
About that kitchen episode, I have two main issues which I would like to share with you. I don't want to speculate on a number of other things on which a lot of people have told a lot of things without any evidence. I'll take you back into the issue with reference to Ananta Swarnamayam when it was proposed.
Right.
One of the issues that was raised is, can anybody do a structural modification without the archaeological department getting involved?
Yes.
The Tirumala temple is not a protected monument under the archaeological act, but still there are enough of rules and regulations which say that archaeological department consent and their association is required if any modification is proposed. In fact, when that whole Anandanalayam, Anantavart thing has surfaced, we also passed a board resolution stating specifically that in future, any modification, the archaeology should be involved. In addition, when there was an issue with reference to the structural soundness of Gollamandapam, which is there just before the temple, we had a expert team of an IIT professor, structural engineer, and some other people formed, who went around and told the structures are safe and sound. So when you are planning something of a renovation in the Potu, should you not, because it's a structure which is ancient, should you not involve the archaeological department as mandated? Should you not take the view of the structural committee to assess what really needs to be done? Both these things have not been done. To that extent, I mean, it was not properly done. That's what I would say. And then where was this decision taken? Was it at the board level, EVOS level, joint EVOS level? My information, the decision is at the joint EVOS level, subsequently ratified by others. To that extent also, it was an improper thing. Other things that are being speculated, I don't specifically want to comment on any of them, because without evidence, what is being talked about, it would not be fair to give you our views as well.
You don't want to say anything more. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Now, let us fast forward to the present day government. And before we talk more about Jagannath Reddy's religion, I want the viewers to know that YSR Reddy was not the first Christian Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. There were people before him, such as Kasu Brahmananda Reddy, as well as N. Janardhan Reddy. They were also Christian. However, their Christianity didn't seem to come to the surface as strongly as YSR's did. And now, subsequently, Jagan. I just want an honest view from you, sir. How much of the shadow or the aura of YSR is on his son? Is his son just as evangelically enthusiastic as his dad was, or is he being blamed or painted that way? I just want to have a neutral opinion from somebody who doesn't have any sides to choose in this.
First, as far as Brahmananda Reddy and Nidulmalli Janardhan Reddy is concerned, a little correction. What they really are, as far as the public perception is concerned, are Hindus. So, I mean, it's not that...
So you have to dig deep. You have to dig deep to find out.
They have not professed Christianity as their religion. There was some speculation when Father Ferrer was allowed to operate in Andhra Pradesh during Brahmananda Reddy's time that there's a Christian connection, nothing more than that. But the family is substantially Hindu. His brother, who still is there, I mean, his brother's son, Kasu Venkatakrishna Reddy, his brother's son, in fact, Bengal Reddy's son, who was as a minister in Congress and other things. I mean, I did work with him. There's nothing which does give even a remotest suspicion that there's any Christian link there. That's as far as Subrahmanyam Reddy is concerned. Netulamalli Janardhan Reddy had a big educational establishment where they say there was a lot of funding from the Christian missionaries. That's where it ends. Beyond that, whether there's a real Christian link also is not. But as far as Rajasekhar Reddy, Jagan Mohan Reddy are concerned, they are practicing Christians. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Christians with a very strong religious conviction. That's the second point. And a family which has an evangelic background. That's another thing. I mean, sister, mother, brother-in-law. But that's another thing. A Christian being this CM is neither here nor there. That's okay. I mean, fine. I mean, in a secular country. But whether there's an evangelic agenda which is being pursued by the CM is the point. That's
yes, that is correct. That's correct.
That's where the issue comes. On this, I mean, there's no yes and no answer still, because I'm also assessing how it is going on. So I'll share my own views on that, and maybe a little time is required before one comes to a definite conclusion. One, there are a number of things that were going on earlier also, which are going on in this government, but they are getting highlighted here. That's one major issue. Getting highlighted for two reasons. One, because he's a Christian. Two, Telugu Desam gone, I mean, who lost the power, are magnifying it and projecting it for two reasons. To identifying him with the community. Second, curry favor with the BJP government at center. So that's why these issues are getting, in a very organized, systematic way, blown beyond proportions. That's one.
Sir, I thought Jagan Mohan Reddy also enjoys excellent relations with the center. That was my input, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean, point is, if he's enjoying, I don't know. I mean, that's something only center can tell. But if he's enjoying, they have an agenda to spoil it.
Yes.
BJP has an agenda to spoil. And this one plank on which it's easy to spoil. So that's one aspect, but I am not concluding there. So there are issues which I will pose and then look for an answer. So this is one aspect which is going on. Like there was a recent GO which was issued stating that minorities corporation will give funds for construction of churches. So somebody says it was also done earlier, but that never got highlighted then. But now that it is got highlighted, it's against the constitutional principle. It needs to be fought, and I am fighting it. I'm getting a bill prepared to question that. Similarly, the enhancement of whatever is the amount given for those who go for Jerusalem Yatra. And in fact, this was started by his father. Frankly, before that, it was not there. So that's another thing that's going on. And then this man has started the new issue of giving money from government to imams and pastors. I mean, which is ridiculous. I mean, people's thing. He also says he's giving it to the archikas. My point is, no, don't give it to the archikas. Don't give it to the imams. Don't give it to the pastors. Archikas can be taken care of by the amounts that are coming from the temples. You don't need to give the public funding for that. So that issue already somebody else has questioned in the court of law. So there is definitely some amount of Christian pampering going on in this government is without doubt. But it is being blown far, far beyond proportion by the TDP is also a fact. Then the other side is, let's take the Hindu Dharma support. That's where I think his role also needs to be equally looked into before you take an overall assessment. There's a whole lot of organized disinformation propaganda that was unleashed by TTD, stating that Mr. Y V Subrahmanyam, who has gone as chairman of the TTD, is a Christian.
Correct.
Which is absolute false.
Right.
Because I know that family, even when I was in TTD, who used to come, it's just that there are two sisters. Two sisters get married into two different families. One is a Hindu family. She becomes a devout Hindu. Another gets married into a Christian Reddy family. She becomes a devout Christian. So link them and then say these are also Christians is absurd. So this Y V Subrahmanyam and his wife, who is the sister of Jagan's mother, are as Hindu and as religious as you and I are. So on that, there's absolutely no dispute. So this is the way some disinformation campaigning is going on. Second, after this man has come to power, one thing he has done is a long pending issue of archakas, which is going to strengthen the temple system, which Chandrababu Naidu refused to take it forward. He has given that gene. And today, the Achika community is totally happy with the decision. And that can be a plan based on which you can take forward the Hindu Dharma if you are able to work your way through properly. Similarly, that link which I told between the Hindu Dharma Prachara Parishad and the Samarasata Foundation, which Chandrababu snapped. This government, I am told, is willing to revive, giving it a statutory backing. If that is done, I'm only waiting for that to be done, then I would say there is not that big a Christian agenda with which they are running as is being made out. Because that's very crucial in taking the Hindu Dharma forward. That's one thing. Second, even without the blessing of the top man, a lot of things are happening which are pro-Christian eventually. Let's not forget. And they derive their strength from the top man. And unless he disowns that, we have to see him as a part of that. 2-3 examples I say. There's a collector in a district who says there's a lot of village volunteers who have been recently recruited.
You're talking about the Guntur collector, sir?
Guntur collector. He says we have recruited Christians. Most of the Christians as part of that. Was it part of a much broader agenda? If it was, I think somebody should really study that. Then yes, this government is a culprit. And did he do it with the conscious backing of the top man, or it was an independent decision which is now trying to link it up to the top man? One does not know. That's something which needs to be done. And definitely the evangelic activity is bolden. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Like places like very sacred things like the bathing gods on the rivers, they are coming and doing the evangelism. And very, very, I mean, there's some minister who keeps on talking of this alone, and a very important minister in the cabinet. Some rituals which you take for granted whenever you do a small foundation stone laying without any religious significance, but as a tradition it's coming, they are being overturned. So I think it needs a little watching, but I mean, I thought I put the whole thing in its perspective. There's something happening, but it's being blown much out of the proportion by the TDP with a different political agenda who never did anything for the Hindu religion when they were in.
Sir, I have to just revisit what I had talked about, this village administrative officer concept. This was first assured by Mr. M.G. Ramachandran in Tamil Nadu in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. And at that time, one of my uncles was a municip of a village. And I have seen how things used to work. The VAO never lived in the village. He would come from the nearby town. And his arrival to the place where he's supposed to work depended on when the bus arrived. And he would always leave well in time before the last bus returned back. And therefore, the man really didn't do anything. It was sinecure employment and accomplished nothing. The village munsif still called all the, suggested all the decisions now to this guy, and he would just come and put his signature. They were just adding an extra layer of bureaucracy, which was not needed. The munsifs never took money. They just knew the well-being of the place. Everybody knew who was trying to transgress the law, who's the right guy, who's not the right guy. All those things used to happen. And I said, from concept point of view, this voluntary officer thing sounds very similar to that. It hasn't worked in TN. Don't waste your money here. But nobody.
No, I think it's slightly different.
Yeah.
I'll put it in its right perspective. The village munsif and village karanam thing which we are talking of was done away with in 1984 or 85 or 87, I think. Around that, 85, around that, by N.T. Ramarao. So the village administrative officer was brought in 85 itself. So now the munsif and village accountant are a thing of the past. That is not what this man is replacing. So there is a village administrative officer setup which is functioning for the last 20-30 years in Andhra Pradesh. What he has now done in addition to that is, he is putting in each village 5 to 10 volunteers who are part-time workers, paid about 5,000 or so. The ostensible objective is to take the government programs nearer to the people, identify the beneficiaries. Now they have this concept of a village secretariat, a secretariat which is consisting of a whole lot of different departmental functionaries functioning at the village level, assisted by these volunteers. And if this volunteer system is based on political affiliation, that's one thing. That's the way most people are doing. Those volunteers will continue as long as this government is there, and somebody else comes, he will replace it. But if there was a religious background to that volunteer selection, then it's something which needs to be seriously taken note of.
And see, that's where the crux of the thing is. I mean, it was already said that when this was being proposed, that this is exactly what this guy is going to do. And whether inadvertently or whatever, one collector from one district has spilled the beans. We don't know if the same thing is playing out in all the districts. Now, see, I have a question to ask you. When somebody becomes an IAS officer, their duty is to the Constitution of India. Their boss is the President of India. I mean, you have to consider yourself as, I'm a human being, I'm a citizen, I'm a government officer, and then your religion comes. But somewhere I'm seeing this thing go a little bit off key. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, hasn't it gone off key for quite some time? Still you are, in the delusion that there is a neutral bureaucracy committed to the Constitution. Willing to discharge its functions fairly, fearlessly, and truthfully. I think that's asking for too much from the present day bureaucracy.
When did you think it went off key? When do you think it went off the rails?
No, that's a different issue. We can talk on some other day whether the IAS still has a relevance. Given the way the whole bureaucracy is getting sided with this or that regime, have we not got a spoil system already into our system unwittingly with a permanent bureaucracy, which is much more dangerous and worse than a clear-cut spoil system? That's true.
See, I'm still trying to come to grips with the shunting out of L V Subrahmanyam, who was the Chief Secretary, and it was within days of him making the comment that according to TTD rules, people who are non-Hindus should not be there, and he had come up with some simple suggestions. I mean, this is something that these are all the laws already there. It's the implementation or the lack thereof. That's the problem.
Actually, this is a point on which I really tweeted on that very day. And first one thing is, so unceremoniously ticking off Chief Secretary was not the right thing to do. If he had some differences of opinion, he could have called him, gave him a cup of tea and requested him to go over, which he didn't do. So while mentioning that, I also just put this question whether, I mean, I left it unanswered, whether this also has something to do with the his stand that he has taken on sending out people of other religions from religious institutions. So I left it at that. Of course, that day evening, somebody very important in the government rang me up and told me, sir, this has nothing to do with this.
That means it had everything to do with it. Anytime you have something like that.
It has more to do with the interpersonal relationships between the chief minister and the CS. That's what he told me. But this is a very important issue, and if that's what prompted his going, I think that does say something about this government. That's why I'm telling there are two contradictory signals coming from this government, and one signal is being blown out of proportion by the TTD with its own vested interest. So I would like to see a little bit before forming up my view on this, though as I told already, there are enough number of issues to suggest that there is something happening on the other side.
Well, you are being very careful with your words, sir, and I mean I like that. But you are also giving the message that needs to go home. I think viewers, you need to learn to read between the lines or listen between the lines in this case. What Rao Garu is saying has a lot of import, and my information is that a call came from Vatican to have Mr. L V Subrahmanyam moved. That is a lot of gravitas. So it just tells us that, you know, even though we give the minorities a free hand, the Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee still decides within India. I don't know about the Muslim organizations. I do know that some Christian organizations still get their orders, their appointment from the Vatican, which is very regrettable. You can, whatever it is, this goes back to what I just said. You know, what are you first? And I think this thought process needs to evolve. We all, I mean, I'm an American citizen. I can tell you that whenever I talk or delve or jump into Indian political issues, I always say that, look, I am this, but my Janma Bhoomi is this, and I feel like I owe something to this, and that is why I'm doing all these things. And there is nothing wrong in wanting the best for the Janma Bhoomi and Karma Bhoomi. And now I'm being pulled into US politics too, and I'm playing some, you know, I'm doing the same kind of commentary that I was doing on Indian politics, and it is leading to some interesting places. So the long and short of it, sir, is last question. In your opinion, how much of the Andhra Pradesh, the new Andhra Pradesh population is Christian?
I would put it around 10% and growing fast.
Growing fast, okay.
Growing
now,
fast.
Are you including all those who are scheduled caste for 5 days or 6 days of the week and Christians for Sunday?
No. That, I mean, I would put it differently. Those who profess they are Hindus for the sake of employment,
right,
to get the reservations, but profess the other religion.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Rao Garu. It was an excellent discussion. This is my first with a career bureaucrat, and perhaps my questions may have been a little short, a little sharp. I beg your forgiveness, but I just wanted to get to the bottom of this. This is a long fight. This is not something that is going to go away tomorrow. And we just need to know the boundaries within which we are working. And I think you have helped define those things very well. Thank you very much. Namaskaram.
I also enjoyed it. I mean, I never found it short. In fact, helped me to express myself well on a range of issues with which I have dealt with. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and have a great day. Namaskaram.
Thanks a lot. Bye.